Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to Out of the Park Baseball 25, episode number 2. Portland Weirdos back at it. We are only one game into our first season, so we are literally just getting started, and with a pitiful roster. The work really is going to begin within this episode because we made no changes to that initial one besides moving the franchise out of the Bay Area and to Portland. First thing that stands out to me on our project is they wanted an upgrade at second base, and right now Geloff, whatever his name is, he seems to be an upgrade from who might have been there last season. He is one of our better outfield players. He's only 2.5 stars, so he's not actually a good player. But I can sense we're going to have a real problem in one key metric. So we've already noted just the low quality of our outfield players, right? And the good part that only one of them is making anything significant when it comes to salary. And that's fantastic, and we do want to try to salary dump the 3 players that are costly as soon as possible. But something that really hasn't been a thing since the late 90s, and obviously a specific era of the game, and Oakland, of course, was a major part of that specific era and the names and faces of that era. Without going into detail on any of that, you should know which one I'm talking about. Since that time, small ball became a thing. Now, it's very much not. We're back to low averages. It's difficult to get on base much, and just it's the long ball game once again. A lot of the runs come in through home runs these days. So power is such a pivotal part of the game in 2024, and that is something that our team desperately lacks. We have a single player who has a 60 power rating. And again, that's just like getting to acceptable okay levels. Will hit some home runs. It's not a lot. The guys with the 55 might get a few this season. These guys with the 30s, 45s, we might not see any home runs from them. So we have no power game with this roster. That's already a huge downfall for us. In that first game, we noticed that we had a decent amount of hits. 7 in 9 innings is not exactly a high amount by any stretch of the imagination, but it was an acceptable level. And you can see that our contact ratings are a bit better than our power ratings are. That's for sure. And what happened in that first game, we only managed to get 1 run because we have just enough contact and gap power to get an okay amount of hits to have an okay average for our players. But without any power, the infrequency of hits is really just going to consistently get us 1 or 2 runs a game on average. I mean, obviously there's going to be anomalies with that, and we are going to win some games, and we're not going to be 0-162. But this is a team that's going to struggle to win 50 games, especially offensively. And our defense, our pitching staff, is full of number 4, number 5 starters and an okay relieving crew. Our best player on the entire roster is our closer, who might not get very many opportunities to try to close out games. The overhaul is necessary, but big thing here is A, we don't have finances, and B, we don't have anything in the farm system. I think our biggest priority needs to be building the farm system, making moves through the draft, offloading salary on those big salaries so that we can build things up and we can spend more in those other areas and not necessarily worry about whether we can win anytime soon. So I will not be managing 162 games. In fact, I'll probably manage half a dozen a season at this stage. We got a long ways to go till this is going to be a competitive ball club. 1-2 now as we lost the second game of the season, 6-0. We're going to see a lot of that. Scouting reports are starting to roll back in. So we have better scouting information on some of these guys to see if we can make a very early move through free agency to sign players on minimum contracts to help build out the squad. I very much like the idea of dipping into free agency, as there's no loss for doing it. It's just a signing, and you can turn around and make trades to get prospects back as you accumulate talent through free agency. So where we might not be able to go big with free agency, we don't have the attraction minor edge of the league players. A lot of them know that they can get a spot on our roster where they can't on other teams. It makes signing easy of talent that's going to kind of keep us in the same boat we're in. But like I said, accumulating a handful of players that can kind of play, that are fringe major league players, gives us some trade capital. So I really don't mind going down that path. But for them to have some sort of trade capital, you've got to go fairly young with them. And the only young one in this group is also the weakest one. He's got some potential a little bit. This is the second base group. Still working on developing power and eye, but everything else is kind of as good as it's going to be. We're definitely not talking about much of quality here. Now, if I could sign him to a minor league contract, I would be pretty okay with that. He was playing AAA off and on the last couple of years for Durham. Problem here is he expects to be a bench player, so I'm not sure we're going to be able to get this particular player signed. He doesn't have the quality, but this can just give us a little more depth in our minor league system if he'll go for it. But being that none of them have better than 2-star capability, I think we're done with our immediacy look of trying to improve second base. We have a year to get that done. And like I said, the player we have there now is amongst the best players, and he did well in the first couple of games of the season. Next up, there's just half a dozen players with the 2.5-star potential in free agency market. There's nothing bigger or better than that. 5 of them are at current 2.5-star. Now, there might be more than this. This is the under the age of 30 group. Don't want to sign the older players that are going to have no value going forward. And what's the big deal if we win 2 more games by signing a 31-year-old guy who's only going to get worse, or a 34-year-old guy who's going to get worse, right? Winning those 2 more games aren't going to help us. We want to have the high draft pick. I don't mind losing in the short term. Draft capital is important. We want people who can help us for a number of years and be an upgrade at a position and get wins that way, and have trade value in a couple of years, still be young enough to send on to somebody else and get something in return. So from there, we have a single first baseman. He's the only one who's at the 2.5. So let's kind of start from there, because I'm not sure that I have much depth at first base right now, though before we would make a move, I need to look at that. You could definitely play first or left field. Not a very good fielder at all. Not going to provide us with much defensive support. And he loves the snooze button on his alarm. So they're saying he's lazy. He's an extreme pull hitter, but that matters less now than it would have, where you're not going to put the shift on. Speed's tolerable, and he can steal, but I mean, we're talking about very mediocre. Contact's okay. Does have some gap power, but not overall power. This is not somebody I would expect to come in and contribute in some major way. He's got a single year of some major league experience with Houston. 32 games, just 14 starts, just 71 plate appearances, 14 career hits, just a 209 lifetime hitter in the major leagues. But he was only a minus 0.2 on his wins above replacement. Pretty okay, still growing into things, but spent all of 2023 in AAA and never got out of there. So Let's see why he kind of got let go. Not terrible, not great. Uh, can be useful. We're gonna start with a minor league contract though, because I'm looking at this guy going, hey, he's not gonna really help us. Let's see what happens if we offer a minor league contract. He can absolutely provide his depth and get a second chance at his career, and he's still young enough at 28. Before I look at 5 outfielders, I really need to know what I'm working with when it comes to the outfield. We have 4 on the major league rosters, 3 of them already at the 2.5 stars. A lefty and 2 righties. We then have a backup who's only 2 stars and would be a definite upgrade. Also 33. Piscotti he's pretty low salary wise. Only plays right field, so it's not like he's a good backup for us. Pretty mediocre defense. Now, of course, right now our scouting accuracy is only average, and I think this might be one of our next players here to get a better idea of what they have. And actually, I think my whole outfield would be one we want to know more about before we go crazy. Down at AAA, this is what we have there. Now, again, I'm still average on our scouting report, but we got 2 2.5 star guys, 26, 27, a couple younger 2-star talents here. Day-to-day injury there. I think I'd like to know more about them as well. So my first target, potentially, of the 5 guys we are looking at, I'm kind of waiting a little bit to get those scouting reports back. We have time. I don't have to rush decisions. But one of our potential signings here is Eshiero Ruiz. This is our guy. Okay, this is our center fielder. I think he's our leadoff hitter, right? Great speed. In fact, it looks like we're looking on an 80 scale because he's topping out at 80, even though I told it to do the 100 scale. In which case, 80's max. So, hey. Great left fielder. Okay center fielder. Good right fielder. Not that great defense. Involved with the local animal shelter, so good strong personality. Can play a little bit of second, third base. We're just talking about okay contact, right? This guy probably would be a number 9 hitter at most teams to kind of give you that back-to-back leadoff hitter style of, hey, if he does get on, you've got an elite base runner who you've got some good contact hitters at 1, 2, maybe 3 that can push him along a little bit and maybe turn that into a run. So he might be better than your 8th hitter. He might be better than your 7th hitter, but putting him at 9th is good because he's like a baby leadoff hitter. He did play most of last season. Most, not all, for Oakland, and hit 254 a year ago. OPS was a 654. He was 1.4 above replacement. So far this season, slow start. It's only 4 games. Small sample size, but not off to a great start for us. By the way, we're now 1-3. But as these scatter reports trickle in, I'll be able to get that clear picture and what I want to go after with those 5. But one thing that I'm seeing right now is we lack power. So if any of those free agents have that power, that actually might be a good signing regardless. And without the depth and with 3 guys and a 4th backup who only plays 1 position and not well, he's not a good backup. So I think it's an easy choice to move on from that particular player. I want to get that scouting report to be sure. So I think waiting on his scouting report is kind of the key for us. So once I have a scouting report on Piscotti back, that's when I'm ready to kind of pull the trigger on making a move. And the next day we have it. Terrible speed for Piscotti. The defense is not good. It's not terrible, but it's certainly not good. Not for a backup. Not for somebody who can't hit the ball. okay, doesn't strike out a ton, but like there's nothing here. He's not going to bunt. He's got no speed. The defense is one position, right field only. So he's not versatile. Yeah. Uh, okay. We've got a clear picture. We've got a very clear picture now of what we're looking at. Things have changed rapidly in a couple days. Other teams are picking these guys up as well. So we've got 3 choices left: 26, 25, 28 years of age for them. We do have one lefty. We don't have a lot of lefties in our lineup. So that's one thing to consider, but he's also the oldest. But I think being lefty will offset the fact that he's 2 to 3 years older than the other guys, meaning we're at a wash right now on that. They're all 2.5 stars. Let's see what we have in these 3 and kind of the direct head-to-head. Scatter accuracy is high. It's not a lock. So for this one, we're looking at and defense, right field only, left field really poor, though could develop. Terrible speed. Not liking this option. Got 77 at bats with Miami last season, 182 hitter. Is definitely better. Average, it's acceptable. It's not great. Can very much develop left field, but not there right now. Could develop center quite a bit to be serviceable, but not there right now. Great in right. And yeah, definitely a stronger defender. Definitely. Perfectionist is an understatement, so he's dedicated, meaning we should expect to see him develop what he's got. Contact is the same, but has better gap power, has tolerable power compared to what we have on the team right now, and can develop that into being equal with literally the best we have on the team at this point. This is a much stronger option. We're going to lean towards a contract with this guy for now, though did not play last year at all, and in 2022 was only a AA player. I would think right away this is somebody you could offer a minor league contract to and probably get him to sign, as he's got 0 major league experience. Expectations, I think, said that he's looking for to be a bench player. OSA do have something similar. They have a little bit more in gap power potentially. By the way, okay, head scout, OSA. If you're not familiar with these two things in the game, there's 2 scouting networks that we deal with. You have your own scouting department, head scout. OSA is ratings that are across the board for everyone. Limited scouting reports that are available to every team. That's where you start your process, and then you get your head scout to do more. Now the OSA rating, it's average on the quality, meaning there's a bit of estimation in there. They know the player, there's some basic information, but there's a little bit of guesswork involved. But so far Matthias is looking pretty dang good as an option, and I might not want I don't think I want to wait to get that very high. But Kassar, how are we looking for this one? Okay, better in left field, certainly can play right. Okay defender, not terrible, not bad. Great speed, definitely the best speed of the 3. Stealing ability is pretty good as well. Power is limited, still better than a lot of the players we have though. And contact is certainly okay. I think we're looking at maybe 2 guys to try to get after to build in. No major league experience, so we can easily sign on a minimum. I think I have room on my 40-man roster anyway. Was pretty good at AAA last year. I mean, average wasn't fantastic, and hey, that's a 50 contact. Kind of a reason for it. But I'm definitely liking these 2 more than the other, and thinking about it, I don't think I want to wait. So Matthias is looking for a minor league contract. I'm going to throw in a small bonus to try to sweeten that deal. and he's happy with that. So let's hope, let's hope that that's enough because I'm liking Matias quite a bit at this point. Kazar's also looking for a minor league contract. We're going to do the same thing. I'm not as big on Kazar as Matias, but I think both of them can absolutely help us out. Started looking at pitchers. There's a 28-year-old reliever here with zero major league experience. Hasn't played for a couple of years, but decently talented. I mean, he's got okay stuff. Definitely not going to give up very many long balls, and that's a big part of the game today to kind of keep you in, especially with relievers. We'll go ahead and offer. He's looking minor league with a major league option. I think we can kind of meet those demands because the major league option only happens if he actually makes it onto the roster. So, yeah, I'm fine with that. Well, the bad news is all of the guys that we've offered so far have picked other teams. They've had similar offers for them, even without the signing bonuses, and have opted to go. Doesn't surprise me. Most players don't want to necessarily play for the worst team unless it's their only path to playing. And so it can make it a lot harder. It can make it a hell of a lot harder to get players signed. One good piece of news, though, is we've had a decent start to the season, 4-5 so far on the year. We've already managed to get 4 wins in just 9 games played. Waiver wire is currently empty, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. That's a great way to pick up players as we go along. But that player trade thing is going to be an option real soon, and I'll start looking into that. But I have 3 players with salary that I would like to dump. So they're kind of the obvious and real only place that I'm looking right now, because I doubt that we have anyone who's going to give us solid prospects in return, and they're just going to make us even worse. I don't mind losing those 3 if I can lose their salary for even if it's virtually nothing in return. Then again, if their contracts are expiring this year, it's not going to be a big deal to just let them go at the end of the year. I have filtered down a list of free agents under the age of 22 that have 2-star potential, that I have an average scouting report on, so it's not a total guess, and are not relievers, because there's 100 of them when I sort the list that way. I'm down to just 15 when I remove relievers. Couple starters, 1 closer, whatever, okay, fine. 12 outfield players with 2-star potential. I'm going to go ahead and offer all of them. None of them have poor injury proneness, so we're going to go ahead and try to offer all 15 of them a minor league contract. Draft pool now made available to us. We're just 13 games into the season, 5-8 right now, but it is April 12th, and if I remember correctly, draft is June or like 1st of July, something like that. I think it's June. Been a little while. Anyway, Connor Griffin, a right fielder, huge potential, but signability incredibly hard, just 17. So we're talking about a kid coming out of high school, but we already have very high scouting ability or scouting knowledge. Blake Burke is one we definitely want to get up to maximum. No injury proneness issues here at the top, but we definitely want to get these kind of first players, get the max scouting reports on them. And we're definitely playing the long game here. We do not need to go after players that have the high current ability. We need to go after the potential. And look how quickly it drops down. There, the entire draft pool has 6 players. This is all players. It's pitchers and fielders. Only 6 players in the entire draft pool will have 3-star or better potential. There is a new rating system this year, and I'm really starting to wonder if 2.5-star is very much an average baseball player, and elite is really left for the elite and not just better players on every team having 4, 5, 6 of those. 207 players come up in the draft of us having not ideal scouting reports and them being 2-star or better potential. So trying to make sure we get all of them scouted. We have nothing with average. Overall, there's 1,500 players that we have a high scouting accuracy on. The rest we have the very high. There is nothing on average or below, and that is incredibly helpful, and that is a testament to me boosting that scouting. It's going to make it a lot easier. But with 200 players to scout further, it's going to take a bit of time on that. But that's our next phase, our next project here, while we sit still at 5 and 8. Monday, April 22nd, we're going to go ahead and end this episode here, but let's get some quick feedback on where the league is at this point. The Yankees 14 and 8 have the best record in the American League. We do have the worst record in the AL at 7 and 15. No surprises on any of that, and our offensive rankings are the worst. Dead last in home runs. We lack power, so absolutely no surprise. We are only ever so slightly better offensively with runs at 29th, though our average is acceptable at 23rd. It's exactly what you would expect to see from our roster. Defensively, we're not as bad, but it's poor. ERA is 23rd. Strikeouts is 27th. We know that it's a pretty mediocre group, but better than our offense. Defensive efficiency, it is 11th. So we play okay defense, and it certainly helps us out. It gives us some of our wins, but we're already 5 games behind the next place team, which is my Seattle Mariners. They're mine. I own them. No, I don't. Just a team I grew up with, of course. But they're only a game and a half out of first place. Very, very close contest. No surprise. That's the AL West for you right there. Year in, year out, that their fourth place team is, half a game out of first place in the AL Central. The AL East is always a little bit on the tough side, but usually just a few teams each year. Even though we are last in the AL, compared to the NL, we're actually ahead of a couple teams right now. Colorado a game behind us, game and a half to Miami, and so we're third worst overall, which means in that race for that first pick, we're third right now. Did the major leagues go to a lottery for their top draft picks in recent years to get away from tanking? I want to say they did. I don't know. I'm not following the sport as closely as I used to, though I did watch a little bit more this last year thanks to that pitch clock. That pitch clock is amazing. Cutting out like 40 minutes a game or something like that. Very helpful. Very helpful. Game was taking way too long for my liking. Might have grown up with it being my number one sport, but as an adult, I just don't have the patience anymore. But that pitch clock, it's giving me a little patience coming back. Braves, Cubs, Giants on top. Milwaukee's the other team on the bottom. Padres are also 7-17, so actually we're ahead of them. So fourth right now amongst the worst. But most of that is there's a lot of teams struggling. I mean, 500 and below is majority of National League, where 500 and above is the majority of the American League. It's going to be tough for us. We definitely got our hands full, but 2 and 8, lost 5 in a row. We were at 7 and 10 there at one point. We had a nice little run going. All right, folks, we'll look more into players as time goes on. It's still pretty early in the season. We're not even out of April yet. Most teams do not start demoting players until you at least get to May. based on performance, because you gotta get a decent sample size. There's little runs, there's little swings, there's little matchup issues. They're still feeling things out that first month of the season. Then we'll start, looking at moves like that. But also with a roster that's just lacking talent and options, I doubt we're going to make a move until at least about mid-May. That's when we'll really start to look at how the players are doing on the season so far. Of course, there is that waiver wire to keep an eye on, and that's about the time where that starts to kick off. You got guys really underperforming, and you've got a decent prospect waiting in AAA that you're like, screw it, let's give him a shot. And waiver wire starts to ding, 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 and options become available. It just means we're picking up somebody who's absolute garbage that could be just trash for us. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.